Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Monday, May 1st, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We've been watching a couple of key levels here, 2388.75 and 2376 half. And on Thursday and Friday, 88.75 was the high. Here this morning, 77 is the low so far. We've been right between those lines and trading so far. I mentioned before that this was a nice little rejection at the edge of a range here, and typically speaking that would imply a return back down toward the midpoint of the range, 53s, and perhaps across the range into the LVN. Because we've been in a very bullish market, this type of digestion at highs is very, very routine and expected, and any sell-off would be still considered a buying opportunity. Eventually, the expectation is that we break to the upside and continue stretching beyond 2400. But do we do that now, or do we rotate a little bit? And at the moment, we have a rejection day tail here that formed last Wednesday. Now we have 3 sessions here that's building out as digestion. That's building the energy here that's going to influence the next move, perhaps this week. We have a neutral, very narrow pivot range this week that could imply volatility. So any failure to hold 76.5 would suggest a return to 53s at the very least and fill this gap perhaps. Otherwise, holding that 76.5 would at least stretch and look to see what's above 88. So you're not really going to see acceptance until you can get beyond a hold beyond 88s and hold beyond really the 2390s and 2400s. I mean, all up here has been significant rejection. So we'll continue to see how that plays out. But these are the key levels to watch. Very narrow range here over the last couple of days. So that could also imply that the market will test both edges before resolution is actually seen. Now, if we take a look at the intraday time frame here, that's not intraday. There it is. Let's bring that one up. Looking at the intraday time frame here, you can see that the market has started with early strength. So the push down into 77s. Remember, I've been mentioning that 76.5 is an area to defend at all costs for bulls. Came within 2 ticks and is pushed higher. Here's a failure of the previous session's low. We've pushed through the previous close and are now pushing up. So a nice little trend up this morning. VWAP is up. R3 is sloping up. So typically that implies you want to look to defend pullbacks until proven otherwise. But again, once you get into that 88.75, that's an LVN up there. That could be a time where this thing starts to see weakness and perhaps you see a rollback toward value. Currently at 82. And we also have 5-day value at 84.75. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Here's crude in the higher time frame. There we are. And in the higher time frame, what we were looking at the previous week was Thursday's rejection low here, and then how price pushed back above the 48.80s rather. And what I mentioned Friday morning was any return in the 48.80 would be a buy opportunity for a shot, not only at a day trade, but perhaps a swing trade that pushes through 50.20. And 40.80 was the low. Price rallied late in the day, about 70 ticks off that area. But again, price was not able to withstand any acceptance or generate any acceptance above that previous high. Instead, closing way back below. And now we're just kind of chopping right here in the middle. So that's not really great for a swing buy just yet. It's actually, we had the low intact here, but anytime it doesn't get the lift that you'd like to see right away, that usually means you might come down here and double dip. So 48.80 is still a very important level there for bulls to defend, but any failure to hold it will likely unleash the stops, and you will likely come down here and test the previous week's low, likely in the 47.90, and that could provide perhaps some sort of rejection for another type of bounce. So right now, watch 48.80. Any failure to hold that level will release the stops, perhaps in the 47.90 and maybe into 47.10. We're still working off this key range, so any rejection down here is still an opportunity to buy. But right now, we may not see the lift we were expecting right away, so continue to watch this zone closely. Here's the look at the intraday time frame. If you recall, very strong support at 48.80, and that's because of price structure, how the market had built out structure in that area in addition to the LVN. 48.80 was the low Friday, and look at the rejection off that area. Price drops into it and boom, nice little rejection. V bottom off that zone, rallied strong back to VWAP, double topped at about 49.49 and then came back down, closing at 49.19. So very nice definition of that low, very nice definition of the high up here, and this could be the range that we see further development in. So again, we could see price drop into this zone. We may see it bounce back up. If price comes into 49.70, it could be a fade back. So it could be a fade the edges right now until proven otherwise. But outside, failure to hold 48.80, likely retest lows. All right, let's take a look at the NQ right now. The NQ has been quite bullish overall. One thing we talked about before was watching after it got out of this range, what was going to happen. Was it going to find acceptance, or were we going to see rejection? And this was the day right here where we were going to figure it out, because it got beyond the previous high of the month and it was holding. And I said, if it can't hold that high, then we likely see a return, but holding opens up a stretch. And this thing started to stretch higher. Right now we have a big update that was seen on Thursday. That's a nice little midpoint around 55.66. You can see kind of 2-day lows right on that zone. Any failure to hold that level, run some stops, but we have an uptrending market. So this pullback could be a great buying opportunity for further stretch. Failure to hold, 45.38 or thereabout, that would likely signal a move back down. So at this moment, given the trend, any pullback could be a great buying opportunity. And we'll watch 55.66 as that level to be violated and perhaps bounced. If this thing does find some sort of low there, we could be looking at a stretch much higher, 56.30 and 56.60. All right, let's take a look here at the intraday time frame. Here we go. On an intraday basis, we've seen quite a rally here in the NQ this morning. This right here is near the lows, 55.71, and we've seen a big push up. Look at how vertical the VWAP is. R3, very vertical. Whenever it is that vertical, you do not want to usually step in front and fade, fade, fade. Instead, look to defend the counter trend rotations in the direction of the primary trend. So any pullback could be a great buying opportunity right now as this thing continues to stretch. But we are coming into 5,600. So this is a zone right now where we have the previous highs, where will be very, very important for bears. If there is some sort of rejection signature, if price cannot maintain acceptance above 5,600, then there could be a rotation back down, perhaps to 55.80, maybe even back toward 55.70. So right now, still trending up, and then once price gets above 5,600, it's going to be an opportunity to watch for signs of rejection or acceptance. Lastly, let's take a look at gold. Gold continues to hold off our 1263s. That's been a very important area for quite a while. I mentioned before that bulls want to defend it, but now price is not really lifted off that zone on a swing basis. It's just traded around the area, which makes sense because it is an MCV-POC. However, once you get a failure to lift on so many rotations, you do have bulls down here that are still trying to get paid. If they don't get paid, this thing continues to roll back down as they jump ship. So right now we have a very narrow range. Bulls are still trying to keep 63s bid, but I would say be cautious and even begin to look to run the stops at this moment. So if there's any failure to hold 63s, it's a quick push to 1250, 1240, and back to 1232. So those are the next key levels down if that 63 finally gives way. Price is really going to have to get above those 1272s. That's really what's going to help get this thing higher, and especially 1280. Right now, that's just not happening. So that shows things are starting to weaken a bit. Now, if we take a look at the intraday time frame, also notice how sharp this sell-off was. Price pushes up in overnight trading, double top, takes out the lows, and sells off hard. VWAP slopes down, S3 sloping very strongly. Those are indications that the thing is getting weak. And so we're still seeing bulls defend 1263, but again, this may be late in the game here, and we may have some sell stops that start getting run. So any balance could be a selling opportunity right now for bears looking to run those downside sell stops of the bulls that have been defending over the last few weeks or few days. All right, I do have a quick update here. Since it is the first trading day of the month, we are going to host the PivotBoss monthly market outlook this afternoon. It'll be at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, and I will tweet out a link there. It's going to be the PivotBoss link on the Join Me platform, and we'll jump in the room and we will do some longer term analysis for the futures. We'll also look and prospect for some stocks. So join me if you can. If not, I'll look to have it recorded and sent out as well. All right, good luck this week. We'll see how this thing plays out. Trade well.